Welcome to the Pottery Studio. I'm Jon Townsend, and we're going to be doing some pottery today. If you were a master potter in the 18th century, you would have had apprentices, and you would have given them very simple products to make. And probably the one you'd start them off on is something just like this. This is an inkwell, a simple conical inkwell, very easy to make. I've made thousands of these. It's a great product to start off with if you're a beginning potter. So we've got our pre-processed clay. It's nice and consistent, soft. This is a little bit bigger lump than we need, but that's okay. Probably 6 or 7 ounces of clay for an inkwell. When I was, probably 10 years old, we, as a family, would go to events. And one of the ones we went to every year, in fact, twice a year, was Friendship, Indiana. And down there was a potter. And I was fascinated watching this potter work. So year after year, I'd go down to that event. The man's name was Ed Wong. He was a friend of the family. And I always enjoyed watching him work. And I didn't get a chance to play with pottery until I was much older. After I was married, I think I was 20, 21, had my own house, and said, now's my chance. So I set up a pottery studio in an extra spare bedroom and started doing pottery. In fact, this wheel here was my first wheel. So inkwells are always in demand because they're a fairly inexpensive piece, and people like to have quill pens, and you want to have an inkwell to go with it. I'm going to be making several of these, and I'll kind of give you the full process here in a little bit. But there are a lot of different inkwell designs in our time period. This is actually a little bit later. You see these a little bit more in the 19th century. And this one's fighting me. It's all right, though. Here we go. We're going to clean this top up a little bit. Cut that. There we are. This one's not perfect, but that's the nice part about inkwells. A little imperfection never hurts. It makes it a handmade looking piece. Whoop, I don't want to go that far so fast. We're going to trim the bottom. There we go. Cut it off the wheel. And make it a little bit easier. There we go. So there's inkwell number 1. So let's start off with our next one. Now, we don't want to clean off this wheel. I'm going to leave this nice little pad of clay here. That'll stick right to it. Let's get this wheel spun up as fast as we can. If we were on a motorized wheel, this would be a lot easier. There we go. Make sure our hands are nice and wet. And the centering process really is the hardest thing for a beginner on the wheel. It's a matter of both pushing sideways and pushing down at the same time. We can do those maybe at different times, so we can kind of squeeze it up and then push it down, squeeze it up, push it down. But the whole idea is that we're trying to get this ball so it's completely centered. And this one is pretty good. The more centered it is, the less difficulty you have. Although if the clay is not very, very consistent all the way through, so if we've got soft spots and hard spots, it'll fight you the entire way, and you might as well not even try to center it. Once it's centered, then we punch the hole down the center. And again, that's if we don't hit the dead center, we get ourselves a lot of problems. But as long as it's spinning, getting the center hole is fairly easy. We're going to push it all the way down until there's a pad at the bottom that's maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. And then we can just sort of pull the wall out sideways to make the bottom of our pot here. And we go out to about our center. Now I'm going to clean up that bottom. My fingernails will kind of dig in. I want to make that nice and smooth. There's a little bit of a lump down there. I didn't get this ball of clay perfectly consistent. But at this point, we pull the sides up. If we were doing a tumbler or a mug, we would pull our sides up and we'd be very careful and try to get it, consistently thick and straight up. In this case, though, since our inkwell is conical, we kind of almost pull it into a conical shape. We can start off, we could make it into a cylinder, but it's much easier if we just pull it into almost the shape we want. It's not quite as narrow at the top, but that's okay. That's truly the easiest part, is bringing this little neck into our inkwell. We just kind of come right up there and squeeze it all in from all four sides or three sides at once, and makes the little neck of it super easy, super simple. We're going to smooth up the interior just a hair, because as the clay closes in on itself, it'll have these little stress lines. We don't want to leave those in there. We want it to have a nice, smooth feel. We can shape that outside edge as much as we want. We're going to cut this top off. We just take a little needle. This is a needle in a cork, and we just push it against the side, cuts it right off. And that way we get a very, very symmetrical and nice top. Inkwells, I like to have a nice thick lip to them. If they're too thin, they can look elegant, but they're very easy to break, and you get a chip on that. So we don't want to do that. We can shape this and get, say, if we were doing a mug or something else, we can shape it and make a very, very smooth lip by using something like a piece of leather. And we'll do that in future episodes. But it's simple. If we wanted to do, more things with it, we wanted to make sure the side was very smooth, we could use a rib, and we come in here and take out all the finger marks if we wanted to. But a lot of times we want that inkwell to look like it was made by hand, so we want to leave those finger marks in. We take a nice little tool, a knife. We're going to cut in here. Got to hold it just right. Got to make a nice little beveled bottom edge. That is kind of a two-fold thing. It makes it very easy to pick up off the wheel when you do that, and also gives it a nice look at the bottom. We've got our clay cutter here, a piece of wire between two sticks, and we just draw that while it's still spinning right underneath there, and that is ready to go. It makes it a lot easier to pick up if the tips of your fingers are dry. We're going to slow down the wheel, and if we're careful, we leave very few marks. So let's get another one going on the wheel. One of the reasons why ceramics, whether you're making them or just studying them in historical things, is because it's such a very, very important product. Today we don't think too much about pottery pieces in our kitchen or, say, in the supermarket. But in the 18th century, ceramic vessels were something that was always in the marketplace. So there was always a local potter, and when you bought food products, some of them came packaged in ceramics. And if you look at archaeology, whether it's ancient archaeology 1,000, 2,000 years ago, or archaeological things happening, especially in the 18th century, the vast majority of the things that people are digging up are ceramics. Iron rusts and disappears very, very quickly. Wood products, the only thing that's really left is discolored dirt. So it's like, oh, I think there was a post hole here because this dirt is brown instead of red like the rest of it. But ceramics and fragments of ceramics are really the vast majority of pieces that are found in an archaeological dig. And so it's it's what everything is dated by, and they can tell so much about what life was like, the socioeconomic level of a person or whatever, by what kind of pottery pieces were in the house or in the dig. This one's going to be a bigger inkwell, I can tell that. There we go. Get this going again. Yes. Sometimes you have to keep working them. And we have a little wrinkle going on here. You can see what's going on with this. Stop the wheel here. And as that shrinks up, sometimes you'll get a little wrinkle. If you get a little too thin with the clay and you push a little too fast, it'll wrinkle. And if we work it just a little bit, we can generally get rid of that. But here's the deal. The more you work pottery, and when I mean a single piece of clay, you can overwork it, and then all of a sudden it goes from this looks good to and it just collapses on the wheel. So sometimes you just have to give up on a piece and say, you know what, this one's not working out. And there's always, when a clay is in this state, it's always easy to reclaim. You can just bowl it right up, let it dry just slightly, and then start over again with it. Just throw it in a big pile. We'll finish this off though. Yeah, see that wrinkle? There's no way. It's just gonna stay there and cause trouble no matter what we do. There we go. Again though, as somebody who looks at original pieces in a museum or looking at pieces that I've purchased, some of the most interesting pieces are the ones that have flaws. You know that it was made by a regular person because it is not perfect. So many of the things we buy today, each and every one on the shelf is exactly like the other one. There is absolutely no difference whatsoever. We can pick any one of them off the shelf and it doesn't matter. But when we look at 18th century pieces, every single one is just a little bit different. And even something like that little wrinkle says, hey, somebody made this and they looked at it and they said, well, this one's good enough. Well, there's our little wear board of finished inkwells. Generally, you would make a bunch of these at one time, 20, 30, 40 pieces or more. Maybe you'd make these all day long, but I only like to make them for about an hour, hour and a half, and then it's time to move on to something else. So that's it. These will take a little bit of finish up work. They need to dry, then a light scraping on anything that might be a sharp edge. They'll get fired to biscuit temperature, which is a little lower than their finished temperature. Then you'll take them out of the kiln when they're dry, glaze them, and refire them up at their proper temperature. These are high fire or stoneware pieces, so these will be finished up at, say, cone 6, so above 2,000 degrees, and then they will be finished and ready to be used as an inkwell. Such a great and fun little project, so simple, great for that apprentice or that beginner potter. And hey, thank you for coming along on this pottery adventure. You never know what we're doing here at Townsends, but this is one of those things I love to do. Pottery, it's so much fun. So thanks for watching.